Residual gamers.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Hey, there's what's up, Suzrex here, and we're going to be discussing the residual gamers for a sec, but more specifically, what happened to them. But before we get into that, I just want to say, yes, I am back, at least for a while, and I'll be going over exactly what's been happening to me soon in the next big video. But one of the biggest reasons that I won't be going over everything in this one video is because, for one, it's a lot to jam-pack into a video that has to do with a totally different topic that's equally important. As well as the second reason being, this video has been long overdue, and if I complete this, I can finally start uploading some more wonderful videos to my second channel called The Residual Gamers. Anyway, we're just going to be going back to our scheduled broadcasts.
Now, for those of you that don't know who or what they were, the Residual Gamers was supposed to be a group of unique individuals that weren't afraid to be vocal about their thoughts and would discuss topics centered around gaming, YouTube, politics, world events, funny stuff, and etc. from an honest perspective, with the idea to create a community of gamers and provide them with news and topics open for debate and interpretation, as well as voicing our own opinions but from a fair standpoint and encouraging them to do the same. We started off with about 6 people, which would be Young Rob, Lil Bob, Ichi Koete, R2 Pichu, Marzel Killer, and myself, Sussurux.
And each of us was supposed to have a role and oversee a specific category that appealed towards our own personal specialties to have everyone comfortable with what they're best at doing and help get videos out faster. Rob had tutorials, Bob had gameplays, Ichi had anime, Pichu had live streams, Marzel had music, and I had the news.
I knew and trusted each of these people for years, starting from around 2013 when I got my first Elgato, and decided to host my first Tekken Revolution tournament in celebration of finally being able to record gameplays and commentaries. I've helped each of them with their problems on multiple different occasions, as well as talked to each of them frequently on a week-by-week basis since we were all cool with each other. So I thought that if I worked with good friends with a good vision to become successful, then we could create a foundation through helping our fellow gamers become better and more informed, as well as creating a beautiful community of gamers that felt wanted, were happy to go and converse with each other, and they could go and discuss various topics uncensored and without being afraid to be honest with each other or even themselves. It didn't matter what your race, gender, religion, or background was, the overall point was just to unite our fellow gamers and help them grow to the next level of success with our knowledge. And things were looking pretty great while planning everything out until problems started to come up before we even put out a video. The first video was when we had a mild dispute on the name of the channel before we even started the channel itself. Rob, Bob, and myself were brainstorming for names, insignias, and actual meanings behind the names for about 2 weeks, and couldn't come up with anything meaningful since most of the names and insignias we thought of were either already taken, were too long of a name, or were just plain ridiculous sounding. Rob suggested a name be the Rhetorically Intelligent Gamers, aka RIG, R-I-G, as the insignia, and me and Bob actually agreed with it because it kind of sounded nice. We didn't really have anything else really going for us at the time, and we really wanted a name that was short, like in the insignia. But our dude Ichi disliked the name, and every other name that the rest of us agreed was acceptable. Then when we urged him to brainstorm with us on a better name for the channel, since he had something to say every time we came up with an idea, he would either frequently say he doesn't know, or he'd heavily suggest the name Super Mega Battle Team, which the rest of us heavily disagreed on. Because for one, it didn't have a real reason behind it, and it was made up on the spot. 2, it straight up sounded childish and out of character for any of us to be representing as a brand since most of us were in our early and mid-20s in age. And 3, the name to the rest of us just sounded bad and out of place for the types of content we plan to produce, and it wouldn't be right to promote a name most of us didn't feel like or feel comfortable representing. And it would have taken a lot more effort to promote the channel and videos since a lot of people more or less wouldn't take the brand name seriously and would assume we're kids doing anything just to get views on YouTube rather than adults trying to make our marks on the community by making positive changes from within it. But when we tried explaining it to Ichi, he heard it but didn't want to accept the majority of the votes from the squad disliking his suggested name. So after a few days, I came up with a new name myself called the Residual Gamers, aka RG, to brand the channel with the catchphrase, "When all is lost, we remain." merging both the definition of the word residual with the fact that each of us were gamers that have outlived the golden age of YouTube before it turned into the fake commercialized crap for money it is now, as well as remaining skilled, honest, but knowledgeable about each major game genre that we started in the first place. But he didn't like the Residual Gamers as a name or the meaning behind it either, so he gave us an ultimatum. If we go along with his brand name Super Mega Battle Team, then he'll continue working with us, but if not, then he didn't want to have any part of being within the squad anymore and wouldn't help us with growing the Residual Gamers. Rob tried reasoning with him himself on behalf of the squad as our friend, but Ichi wasn't willing to compromise at all, so Ichi left the squad a week before our very first video dropped on the channel. And that was the end of that. The next problem revolved around communication, as Rob, Bob, and myself noticed that us three were the only ones really trying to talk to each other about improving the channel every other day on our own. But our other two members, Marzel Killer and R2 Pichu, most times were either silent or just straight up unresponsive, so I brought it up to Marzel and Pichu, and they agreed that it was a problem that needed fixing, because we couldn't be a group without communicating to each other or nothing would get done. So within 2 weeks, I invited the whole squad to a Skype call on a day that each of them agreed they were free on. We talked about what needed to be done, any problems that needs fixing, and any ideas to make the brand as well as their own personal channels better, and to overall be on the same page as each other as a tight-knit group to limit confusion. And to include everyone on the team and learn off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. To overall help strengthen the Residual Gamers brand, like if someone's struggling in some aspect with the category they chose to oversee or wanted to learn something new, we would come together in the squad and show them how to do it better. But Pichu didn't think that was too important at all, and left without saying anything else but hey after the first 10 minutes of joining the squad discussing ways to improve the channel. Immediately I called an attitude because for one, it took me 2 weeks to get the entire squad together on a free day and lay all of our problems out on the table to find solutions for in order to focus more on continuing to improve the brand. 2, all I asked was for 20 minutes of the squad's time to talk things out and get things done, no joking around, no trolling, no off-topic conversations, just straight talk about the brand, our channels, and the issues at hand, but she went back on her word and couldn't spare 20 minutes of her time with the rest of us. And 3, seeing her bail on us in mid-conversation felt like a slap in the face or like someone walking away and slamming a door in your face as you're talking, since we were all supposed to be cool with each other enough to go and hear each other out, but then she's being disrespectful when no one else initiated hostility towards her at all. Even so, we continued without her, and after the meeting was over, I contacted her on Skype to try to figure out what her problem was, but I didn't get a response until 2.5 hours later. She said she was listening to everything so far, but it didn't sound important to her, so that's why she left. But when I asked what she heard exactly, she could only remember a little of what was said 5 minutes before the meeting started, since she was the fourth to pop into the Skype chat, since it took Marzel the longest to get in because of his Wi-Fi issues. Then when I asked her to elaborate on what she meant by her statement, she went offline. So I waited about another 2 weeks and found her streaming Uncharted 4 with 3 viewers, so I joined the chat and repeated my question from the last 2 weeks. And she explained that she didn't think what we were talking about was important because she didn't think the brand would last too long. She didn't think the squad sounded serious enough about improving the brand, didn't trust Rob, Bob, and Marzel as well because they were better at live streaming and fixing technology but not so great at editing YouTube videos, and thought of them more so as liabilities than anything dependable. But it didn't make sense for her to be making such grand assumptions of failure when Rob, Bob, and myself were doing most of the work, if not all the work, while she didn't contribute anything to the squad except for her negative opinions, avoiding us, pretending to be interested in something she really didn't care for, and beating around the bush and not speaking up until 2 weeks later about how she really felt about everything, rather than just being honest and straightforward about her thoughts 2 weeks prior within the meeting in front of everyone. She also didn't want to join because somehow she assumed that we were primarily only going to focus on just streaming on Twitch, and didn't feel that general communication, meetings, and planning and organization would be needed, since she just wanted the squad to focus on improving our Twitch channels to gain more followers and to just host her channel whenever she goes live in order to possibly gain the Twitch partnership for herself. But since none of us were really down for that, and most of us already kind of figured out that it will only benefit her and not the rest of the group, R2 Pichu left the squad. Next up was laziness issues, which really wasn't so much of a big deal to be honest until after we finished the first episode of the Residual Gaming podcast, when Marzel Killer said he wanted to be in the next one and help out a bit more within the squad since it was just 4 of us now. Mind you, at this point it's about a little over 3 months after we've already established the Residual Gamers. Since he really wanted to help out, I asked him to help me out with the news videos, since I was trying to type the script for 3 of them already, but it would be faster if 2 of us did it at the same time, since it was easy to do, but just too many to do at the same time. I would have asked Rob and Bob to help as usual, but Rob was making a tutorial video to place on the channel at the time, while Bob was upgrading his tech setup to go and try out some new gameplays. And Marzel wasn't doing anything at the time, but just hanging out in the Discord chat with us. He said okay, but 4 hours later when I got done my set of news videos plus 3 more for my personal channel, so overall 6 videos done in 4 hours within 1 day, I checked up on Marzel to see what he completed so far, but he didn't start on anything that whole time. When I asked him why he didn't at least attempt to do the videos throughout the 4 hours when he said he would, he said he was sorry and couldn't think of anything. But he could remember to play Tekken Tag Tournament 2 while the rest of us worked on videos all day though. I was really annoyed with that, but I brushed it off because I kept telling myself he's our friend, and maybe he'll wise up, get serious, and change soon. So I said alright, and started on the videos that he just didn't do at all. Another incident was when Rob, Bob, and I came to the conclusion that we needed to recruit to expand the group since we each were having problems with time and video production. The idea was that if we could recruit 8 people and overall make a group of 12 with a proper schedule, then we'd be set to keep producing at least 3 to 5 videos a day on the channel. So when a few of us upload a set of videos, then the ones not uploading will be stacking up videos for the next day going into the next week. So we started looking hard for candidates for about 3 weeks. Bob found a brand new but dedicated streamer named Unchief Productions, Rob found a skilled but struggling Tekken streamer named Genius Zomfist, and I found 2 girl streamers that have been around for a while, but wanted to learn how to utilize both Twitch and YouTube better named Fantasy and Not Another Alias. But Marzel didn't attempt to find anyone to recruit or even try to help again after saying that he would help. Instead, he forgot again and went back to playing games instead of helping the squad that entire time. The final straw was when me and the squad started discussing topics in preparation for the second podcast show, and again, Marzel popped up, greeting everyone, listening to what we're doing, laughing when we're being serious, and agreeing to help out with whatever we need to be done, like researching some of the topics that would be discussed more in depth within the podcast. Rob and Bob were already annoyed as much as I was with the amount of laziness and inactivity Marzel was showing toward the needs of the squad that for whatever reason he still wanted to represent and sound like he was doing something for even though he wasn't. They also didn't want him on the podcast since he didn't really do anything for us so far except for just popping up to say hi for the most part. Nor was he really doing anything for himself and trying to improve his own video ideas for his own channel. And most of the time he was just silent a lot of times and says I don't know whenever a question is thrown his way, and there really wouldn't be a point to invite a dude to a 4-person podcast if only 3 people are going to speak the entire time. But me being a good friend asked them to give Marzel a chance and just work with him through the show since I was hoping he would surprise us a little bit by showing he at least tried to research some of the topics we discussed a little about from earlier. But by the time the podcast started, he was already silent for the most part whenever it was his turn to speak, making things awkward, so me and the rest of the dudes picked up the slack and just started discussing stuff like how we normally do at any other time of the day while he laughed a little bit in the background or just quietly listened or giving more I don't knows when it came to sharing his opinions on topics and issues. After the show was over, we were pissed. I mean, we were really pissed because we felt that the episode sounded bad and a little forced since each of us were a bit annoyed than trying to get Marcel to speak more in the middle of the podcast in little ways for almost 2 hours while discussing topics, as well as it overall being a great waste of time trying to get the dude to do anything in the first place since we couldn't keep using the excuse that he was our friend anymore up to that point to justify his laziness and inactivity. I took full responsibility for the mistake in giving him another chance and basically ruining an episode of the podcast, and then each of us voted to remove Marzel from the squad to prevent more mishaps in the future from happening about 3 days later. And finally, we've come to the bigger issues between Rob, Bob, and myself that revolved around a variety of different aspects that escalated over time and ultimately wore us down to the point of destroying the group as well as almost ending the brand. It started back when we finished our first podcast. Things were going well, ideas were flowing, but the amount of effort placed into those ideas usually wasn't enough to do anything useful towards improving the brand when videos need to be finished and uploaded as a group. Basically, we were talking more about the things we wanted to do for the brand, but not putting forth enough action towards turning those ideas from our discussions into a reality in the form of producing new videos on the channel. Like, we will come up with a set of video topics to work on and upload for the week, but when I finish videos on my part, normally ahead of time, I'd wait for the others to get their videos done to upload as a set, or at least a pair of videos, so we could upload various categories of videos at once instead of just 1 to 2 minute videos of the latest gaming news videos that I was primarily doing. And all the weight wouldn't be on my shoulders because it was supposed to be a group effort, not a one-man army.
But I wouldn't be able to because their videos either weren't done, forgotten about, or haven't done much effort placed into them and will ultimately never be uploaded most of the time. So very often my videos would be uploaded late because I would have to stop everything I was doing or was planning to get done for the following week to spend a lot of time either reminding them to complete their videos to place on the channel that they frequently tried to reassure me wasn't a problem and would get done soon even though it never would, or I was teaching them the basics of video editing to get things out faster with a moderate level of quality placed into them. But even though they were receiving the info I was giving them, they weren't using the knowledge I gave them to improve their videos and instead stuck to what they knew and what they were already doing all along, which made it a waste of time to keep trying on my part. If it wasn't that, then it was constant excuses on why they couldn't upload videos. While some were understandable, like dealing with personal issues in reality and other types of health problems and such, others were just lame and just made just to get out of finishing what needed to be done.
Like falling asleep most of the day on the deadline date for videos that need to be finished that I was assured by them would be done but never would be. Or they would attempt to make a video but wouldn't have the confidence or the patience to finish and upload it. Or they'd forget about the videos entirely and go straight back into streaming and forget what we spent hours planning out in the first place. Videos are really not hard or overcomplicated to make. In fact, at the fastest, a simple commentary with a gameplay in the background only takes less than 5 to 8 minutes of one's time to record, edit, and upload at a time. But the fact that we had to go through all this just for the production of a few simple videos that are less than 5 minutes long, and all they had to do was stick to their words, that a video would be produced by them, would be finished on a specific day or time, or at the very least provide their commentary at the minimum, so at least 5% of the work would be done as I took care of the other 95% of everything else, and they still didn't do that, made me pissed. Because they could have done it, they sound like they were doing it, but they didn't do it. And at that point it was apparent that I was the only one taking it seriously, and was willing to handle more responsibilities of roles that weren't even supposed to be mine to begin with, just to ensure the future of the brand survives. Because I was the only one multitasking like hell, planning on what to do next with the RG channel, Rob's channel, Bob's channel, as well as my own personal fucking channel, while they weren't taking things seriously with their actions or their words. Fast forward 2 months after Marzel was removed, Pichu and Ichi quit, and we're still struggling to get simple tutorials, gameplays, and news videos out. Oh, and the other 4 people Rob, Bob, and myself brought in to go and help us out, they didn't do shit at all the entire time they were with us, except for just waste fucking time and just do their own thing. I mean, yeah, we helped to go and teach them a little bit more about YouTube and Twitch to go and get them started, but after they got fucking started and they bullshitted by pretending to give a fuck about the RG brand, they just up and abandoned us. Besides all the fucking problems and shit, we didn't show them that, but they just didn't really give a fuck about what we were doing at all, just the fucking subscribers and the followers that they were going to get if they followed our example and ideas. So I said fuck it and started doing everything myself, keeping to myself, not teaching nobody shit, and spending 3 times the amount of effort and time into keeping the brand alive by myself by making sure my videos were good and saved on my flash drives and external hard drive as I was going through things in my reality. So whenever I had time, I could just start uploading everything back to back to back to back to back without end. And out of the whole time we were a squad, me and Rob are the only 2 people who have ever uploaded videos to the channel. And Rob only uploaded 2 raw videos, which are the 2 tutorial videos on the channel, which weren't even edited at all. So I had to privatize, download, watch, edit, and re-upload them in the same day to look presentable on the channel with our logo on them. Because apparently he didn't know how to edit right. And even though at the time Bob was still in the squad with us, Bob has never uploaded a video to the channel before, because for one, he was our main tech specialist of the squad, so any new or old equipment that could improve the quality of our channels, or even the quality of our own laptops, computers, and consoles, he was on it. And secondly, starting out at the time, he didn't have the equipment to do it in the way he wanted, because he wanted his own capture device, like either the Elgato or Advert Media capture device, instead of having to use OBS most times, as well as a PS4 for console gaming, since he was already into PC gaming for a while. But over time, when he did get the equipment he needed, he wanted to upload to his own personal channel first before uploading anything to the RG channel, which was fine. And then after he got the feel for producing a few videos on his channel, he was going to attempt to help more with producing videos from YouTube instead of just doing live streams on Twitch. But he didn't know what he wanted to upload or know what type of content he wanted to produce or how to edit his videos correctly. But he still wanted to learn himself. Then months later, when he figured out everything he wanted to do, he made one tech tutorial vlog video on his channel.
But when I asked him about helping the RG channel, since it was just me and Rob now, he changed his mind about being interested in producing YouTube videos and wasn't interested in doing anything for the channel anymore. Not because he hated it, but more so because he didn't view it as a priority or even worth putting effort towards anymore, since it was just the three of us left. As well as because of how much time it took to make the one video on his own channel and having to replicate a more simple process for the RG channel for producing videos on a consistent basis. Then more trouble began happening as Rob, Bob, and I were going through some housing problems around that time in the background too. They were going through a family crisis that resulted in them moving to a new and better place while I was under threat of being evicted with my family from my house by a slumlord, and I already had put together a plan for reality to handle that situation months in advance. My family would have been fine since they had the money to get to another place, but I was like 22 with no job, and they did not want me around because they felt that they could not depend on me for anything, and they did not want me around because me and my mom often bump heads as well as my siblings about simple shit. That turns into very serious shit when they misunderstand me, or they misunderstand each other. So, and even though I was always willing to work, jobs simply weren't hiring, regardless of how far I'd travel around my state for the job, or how much I would put on my resume for past experience that I really do have, because it was always one excuse after another as to why they couldn't hire me. Plus, Rob and Bob didn't think I could multitask while going along with my plan for handling reality as well as maintaining the channel through YouTube and Twitch was going to work out very well. They viewed my situation as pretty much just too much happening at one time and felt that I should just give up on everything for a while instead of trying to improvise in the midst of things until I was properly secured. But I knew what I was doing. It wasn't the first time I've lost a house, and I knew exactly how to go about with my plan with dealing with the threat of homelessness as well as still producing videos in the middle of everything since I've already done it before, like I told them and even showed them. While they were moving, my plan kind of started kicking in, and I started doing a bunch of odd jobs to save up for my next place to live, as well as going to as many places triple time, putting as many applications into jobs as I possibly could, just not coming the fuck home until like another 9 to 10 hours later a day. Either just walking or just using the bike, or occasionally taking the bus whenever I had like a couple dollars on me. 2 months later, I was approved of a new day job at a supermarket and tried to do full-time hours plus overtime as much as I could with the odd jobs on top of that on the same days and when I was off from the supermarket to help speed up the process regardless of how tiring it was, while my family managed to somehow keep the house a little bit longer through court for another 2 months since the slumlord didn't have all his info correct and kept pissing off the judge, and we had evidence to combat him. So in that time frame, I ended up making enough money to support myself, helped out my family a little bit to prepare for the next place to live, and maintain the channel at the same time while doing videos around 2, 3, and even 4 in the morning, with only 2 hours of sleep. The only two big problems at that point was that I was exhausted almost all the time from working about 35 plus hours a week from the day job, as well as doing the odd jobs for an additional 25 hours a week as bonus money, and making time to waste an extra 15 hours a week on videos and editing new content. So overall, about 75 hours each week of wasting away my life to support myself, my family, and keep the RG channel alive by myself. So the quality and motivation of my voice was lacking since I couldn't stay awake long enough to finish the videos in one sitting now, as how my schedule was looking. And 2, I didn't have a squad no more, because it was more apparent that it was over 100% when I finally got in contact with Rob and Bob again over Discord. I updated them as to what I was doing and everything with the job, finding a new place, having enough money to support myself as well as the fam and everything, and they were cool with it. But when I mentioned the plans I had for improving the RG channel since I could buy equipment and software to make it look more unique looking as well as had enough cash for a new mic, they started laughing at me and roasting me in the middle of me talking about it. Like, Saz is still on that RG shit. It ain't worth it, bro. You gotta worry about yourself right now. Fuck this YouTube shit. Then they explained that until I wasn't with my family anymore and had a place to myself, that I shouldn't really be worrying about YouTube and Twitch at all and just worry about the job and getting more money. Which was understandable since they just wanted me to be secured and stable enough to not have to worry about nobody messing up my passion or interrupting my live streams and videos, but they didn't believe I could multitask and maintain the brand while working, which was really bothering the fuck out of me. Even though it would have been tiring, I could still do it, and I've already shown that I could do it, regardless of what was happening. And I was already doing it even at that moment when I was talking to them. It doesn't matter where you are or what's happening in the background.
Someone who's truly hungry for success will be willing to sacrifice all that they can in order to make something they're passionate about happen. And I was most definitely one of those people that has done all of that, but it wasn't being noticed by anyone. Then Rob explained he was going through health problems and wouldn't have the patience to keep doing it anyway. And Bob explained he was looking for a new job and still wouldn't have the time to do it, even if he changed his mind about it. So overall, they were just getting their lives together too. And they really just didn't want to have anything else to go and worry about in the midst of things. So I just said alright, didn't go any further in detail, bullshitted with them for about 20 minutes as I watched them play and stream Tekken Tag 2 on Twitch. Then I made myself a sandwich and started watching the Gaming Illuminati on YouTube, fell asleep and woke up 6 hours later and started on a new video for the RG channel, then went back to work. Overall, if everyone actually had the patience to just go and state exactly what they could do versus what they couldn't from the very beginning and learn to work together and talk things out instead of just ignoring the problems at hand or making things go on longer than they really should have, then we probably could have still kept the group going even right now and been a lot more established than what it is now with me just being by myself. Overall, Ichi wanted to be leader of a group that didn't want one. Pichu assumed the worst before anything started. Marzo was lazy and always found an excuse to not try at anything significant. Rob and Bob lost their passion to succeed, and I broke down my hopes and faith in people after realizing how much time I wasted on putting together a group that didn't know how to be one.
But I guess that's just another lesson learned. So now, until I find another group of real gamers that are serious and hungry for success to put this together with, I'll just be doing it alone, as I've done most things in my life, and just hope for the best. But anyway, I gotta go. I'm hungry, and I haven't eaten shit all day, so I'll see you guys later.